Hello everybody, I'm GeoSnow. So in this video I'm going to show you the basics of programming in C and C++ on a Mac, but this applies to Linux and Windows as well. For standardization purposes, on this video we're going to use the Atom text editor, which is this one in here, which is completely free and open source, and it's available from GitHub. Now you can download it for free, as I said, on atom.io. The link will be in the description. And as I said, it's cross-platform, so it's available for Windows, Linux, macOS, cats, dogs, whatever. It's definitely a good idea to check it out, and this is what we're going to use. And for compilation purposes, on Mac and on Linux, we're going to use GCC for the C code compiling, and G++ for compiling the C++ code. Let's start with the basics. At first, we're going to create a new file that we're going to use in order to hold our code. On a Mac, if you want to create a new file that is completely empty, you can use a terminal, which is this one here. The colors may vary. And you can use the touch command in here. If I say cd desktop, and I say touch code.c, it should happily build a new file called code.c. Right, I'm going to drop this file in the Atom text editor in here. In fact, sorry, it's this one in here. And it will happily load it. Now we're able to pretty much start coding. And I'm going to start with the very important part, that is the headers. So we want to create C code, but unless you really want to reinvent the wheel and create everything from scratch, any library from scratch, and anything that the libraries that are present can do from scratch, then you want to import stuff. And one of the important imports are the stdio.h. So let me show you. We're going to use the hashtag in here and say include, and we're going to use the angle brackets in here and say stdio.h. So what is this thing? Well, this is called the standard input-output library, and it contains quite a lot of things we're going to discuss further on, like functions. It contains functions like print, like string compare, and so on, which are very important down the road in your program, unless you really want to rewrite them again and lose a lot of time. By including the .h file, we pretty much include these functions in our code. If you want to learn more about what stdio contains, you can Google it and it will show up what it can do. Then we're going to go ahead and include something else. These are called headers. The headers in C and C++ have the .h file. The next thing we're going to include with the angular brackets is the string. So string.h. This one will provide the string related stuff you're going to see in a minute. And now we're going to go back in here and create the first function of any C or C++ program. And that is, of course, ent main. We're going to add the brackets and the curly brackets in here. And now, for the moment, this contains nothing. Now you can see here that it says int. Int stands for integer, which is a whole number. And in this case, since our function is set to return an int, we have to terminate our function with a return and a number. We're going to say return 0, which in this case means that the program ran successfully and everything went smooth. Let's test out our program. So we save it, and we want to compile it in terminal. So GCC, we just feed the file in here, we add -o for object, and we add the file again, but remove the extension. This way we'll create an executable at the same path with the same name. So when we do that, there we go. And you can see we have here on desktop a new file called code, and it's an executable file. Let's run it. So I'm going to clear the terminal. Since it's a command line tool, we're going to run it in here. And as you can see, it ran and it quit. Nothing happened. The reason for that is that our program is literally nothing but a run and quit. So the return 0 in here tells the operating system, okay, I'm done, I ran successfully, everything went fine, back to you. But what if we say return 1, or return -1, or return any other number? Well, in that case, it means our program ended up with an error, and we use other numbers than 0 to specify the fact that we did shut down the program, but with errors. We're going to get onto that down the road. So let's add a little bit of color to our program. So we're in this function called ent main. The main function is the default function in which your execution of your program starts on, I think, any operating system. If not any, then most. So what happens in here? When your program starts, the memory is set up for the program, and then the control is being sent to the main function and everything is being executed. You may have like hundreds of functions with different names on your C program or C++ program, but the main function will be the default one that will begin. This is important to know, especially since you're going to build programs, right? So what we can do now? Well, let's make use of this function and let me show you how you can print something to the screen, for example. Remember that we imported or included, if you want, the stdio. The stdio in here, stdio.h, which is standard input-output library, allows us to 1. Get input from the user, and 2. Give output to the user on the screen. Let's give some output to the user. How we can do that? How we can make our program to print something to the screen, for example? Well, we can use the printf, which is a function available from stdio.h, and it allows us to print something to the screen. Now, the function is definitely very powerful and allows you to format whatever you're printing in different ways. For example, if you are printing an address, otherwise known as a pointer, or if you're printing numbers, or if you're printing text, and so on. But we're going to start with the basics. We're going to say printf. You can see we already get some information here that we don't need. And you can see it's a function. It has the round brackets. And we're going to use the speech marks in here. And whatever is in the speech marks will definitely be printed to the screen. So I'm going to say hello world, because every program has to start with hello world, I guess. If I get to this point, my program will print hello world. Then what it will do? Well, it will quit because it says return 0 in here. So let's compile this chunk of code and let's see what's going on. So I'm going to rerun the GCC command. It compiled with no warnings or errors, and we can run now the code program. And if I press enter, it says hello world, but you can see there is some additional garbage in here, and that is actually my username at my Mac, this bit in here. Why? Well, because we did not add a new line indicator. So as you can see here, we're pretty much finishing up with the letter D. We're not finishing up with a new line. And unless specified, the computer will not add a new line in order to format your output for you. The computer is a deterministic machine. It will do whatever you are telling it to do, and the computer assumes you know what you're doing and you do know what you're coding. It will not try to correct you unless you make some, I don't know, grammar errors in terms of C and C++ grammar, or unless you're calling some invalid or illegal functions in the system. But other than that, it will not tell you, shouldn't you have put like some sort of space in there or something? No, it's not going to tell you that. You have to keep that in mind. So how can we add a new line in here so that our output will not look garbage like this, and it will put the command shell back a line in here? We can add the stroke n. The stroke n in C and C++ means new line, and this will pretty much make a new line, and anything else will be printed on that new line. So let's compile it now, and I'm going to show you what happens. So we're going to clear out everything here. By the way, on terminal on Linux and macOS, you run clear command and it clears anything. We're going to run again the GCC command. It's compiled finally. And we're going to go ahead in here and open it again. Let's see this time. Well, as you can see, this time we no longer print with garbage. This time it prints hello world and then adds a new line on which it prints the the shell in here. So this is very important. This is called the new line in here. It's a new line indicator, and it's definitely important when you're printing stuff and you want the stuff to look well on the screen. So this is pretty much it with this video. You made your first program called Hello World, and you should be proud of yourself if you're just getting started with the programming. And in the next videos, we're going to get more in depth. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe to stay updated if you're interested in programming and hacking. I'm GeoSnow. Till the next time.